Hey guys, it's me, Taylor. Thank you for listening to Just Bleed Radio, and this is the weekend roundup with LazyBed, Austin, DangerMouse, and Chatri. I love Chatri. So cute.
Put on your khaki shorts and bucket hat, grab a VB long neck, and get that up ya. You're locked into Just Bleed Radio, and this is the weekend roundup, UFC 325. What's up, cunts? Today is the first day of February 2026, and while it might be cold outside in the northern hemisphere, things were heating up down under on Saturday night. JBR has you covered for all your hot takes, so let's get this shit started so we can kick it like kangaroos. First up is my boy Austin. He doesn't have a mullet like Jimmy Crute or a face like Jamie Malarkey, but he can drink. He can drink a awfully large amount of beer. It's no special. What's up, dude?
I'm good. It's been a hell of a weekend. I've enjoyed the fights. I don't remember much past them, but yeah, it was a good time. Good time. I'm glad we're doing this today.
Well, if you don't remember much of it, I'm sure that the people in attendance don't remember much of it either. So you're all in the same boat. Speaking of people who were there in attendance, this guy wasn't in attendance, but he might know somebody who was, because he is the illegitimate stepfather of Quillen Salkeld and the estranged lover of his bakery-owning mother. They call him a mouse, but I think he might be more of a hawk with the way he honed in on successful early draft picks. Danger, how you doing, man?
Good day, you cunt. Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. Pretty good. I'm happy to talk some fights. I also, I kind of blacked out sometime early in the morning and then woke up, I think, in the middle of the main event. But I've managed to rewatch them this afternoon, so it's all good.
I did not rewatch them, and I don't plan on it, but we'll save that for later. All right, that's the introductions out of the way. But as we get started here with the actual fight talk, guys, if you haven't already, please do hit the like button. That's the thumb up top there. And also, if you haven't, ring the bell. Subscribe to the channel, set your notifications up so that when JBR goes live or when we premiere an episode, you can be here and you can be in the chat with the rest of us, because we're always here and we're always on time, baby. So go ahead and do that. And also, while you're at it, check the links in the description. Join the JBR Tapology League today. I believe there will also be a link for the official Just Bleed Radio Discord. So get in while you still can. Get in while the getting's good. All right. Now that's that, and we will begin our fight talk for the day. And I think, guys, we might as well just get right into the good stuff and start right from the top. I don't think we should bother wallowing around in the mud. Let's get right into it, into the thick of it, with the main event of the evening. And for that main event, we would find ourselves in the featherweight division for a rematch that most nobody wanted to see. Pretty pointless, if you ask me. But nevertheless, there we were, and we were all buckled in to see it. It was Alexander Volkanovski defending his featherweight title against Diego Lopes once more. And, like I kind of alluded to there, it was basically the same result as the first one, with Volk walking away with a quite unanimous decision victory, retains his belt, also ties the featherweight defense record with one Jose Aldo. So Volk, once again, finding himself in good company and ascending the record books. So, a big win for the Volkster. A lot of people were happy. The guy's a huge fan favorite. Tons of fans out there, including our very own bleeder, Left Hook Larry, who just loves him some Volk. So the Aussies were quite pleased with the result. I think the majority of the fans were happy. Maybe if you're a Diego Lopes supporter, you weren't so pleased, but he finds himself in a tough situation here, having now lost 2 title shots. So likely a large setback for him, but we'll see what you guys think about this one. We'll go to you first, Austin. What do you think about this fight? What were your thoughts on it? And did you walk away feeling like this was any more necessary than you thought it was before it occurred?
Originally, my thought process on this was like, if we were just going to go with an exciting fight, okay, I understand the metric of taking the the more exciting fighter and giving them an opportunity because he's easier to sell. I mean, most of us would agree Mozart and Laurel Murphy are more deserving. Matter of fact, Mozart is probably the most deserving of the entirety of the featherweight roster to get the next shot. Fortunately, he doesn't fight very often, and when he does, apparently Dana always confuses his fights for being boring, which I can't abide by. But again, the other thing too is that we just saw the fight not too long ago. Matter of fact, Diego Lopes got one win over a up and coming, featherweight, and again, that dude wasn't even ranked that high. John Silva at the time he fought him, and he was losing that fight until he wasn't. So it's like it was just weird the whole way they went about it. And again, it's like I think you can argue that they were thinking about either we're going to give him an easy win in Australia, or after watching the fight, hey, he might put on an interesting fight that the Aussie fans would appreciate, and one way or another, we'll get a guy that we can sell regardless. And they kind of took the gamble on the same fight for some reason. Again, neither here nor there. They did it. It is what it is. Def wasn't deserving. Showed up. Did pretty much the same thing he did in the first fight, and that was kind of the confusing part to me. I think Volk I think he basically said, "Okay, we go to the left this time. Oh, let's see if we just go to the right." Like,
literally.
and it was like it goes to show that look, Diego's good enough to beat majority of the division. We can clearly see that. You burned his ability to get back to the title anytime soon off of a possibility that the fight could be exciting, and it got fight of the night. Granted, there wasn't a ton that was super exciting on the card, but I thought Diego tried, and he made it difficult for Volk to actually take him down. I think I was more impressed with the fact that he was defensive in the grappling department and used his opportunities when he was there to threaten submissions, force his way back up, his get-ups to fight off the hands, and force his opponent to kind of, keep his guard up as he's stuck in the guard. It was pretty impressive to see Volk kind of be limited on the attacks, but that was the thing that kept Volk in play. I can jab, I can kick, I can circle, I can counter, I can go in for the shot. I don't need to complete a takedown. I know how to get you with the jab, avoid your counter, come back, body shot, leg kick, overhook, everything that he could do, he wanted to. The scary part was in the third round where he got dropped, immediately got back up, went back to jabbing, went back to circling, and took any momentum that he could have had from Lopes, and it was just a brilliant display from probably one of the best featherweights in the current division. I mean, they were trying to say that he was, there's an argument that he's better than Aldo. I was like, come on, this is hold our horses there for a second. But I know you have an opinion on that, but I'm just gonna say he's not there yet. But he's like one or two away, and on top of it too, it's just Volk did what he needed to do. He proved why he's still a champion, why he's still capable, and why I'm excited to see him defend regardless against whether it be Laurel Murphy or Mozart Boyev. And that's what you need for this division. You need consistency because, hey, they kind of screwed the division over. Now we just need to get the wins back. And they have a great champion that looks good doing that. Anyway.
Let me interject here, not to cut you off, but I want to ask you another question before we pass the baton over here to DangerMouse. But do you think that this was the game plan from Diego Lopes in his camp? Do you think that he executed what they had trained and what they had tried to implement? Because it seemed to me like this was a near duplicate performance of the first one. You could argue he was a little bit more active or possibly found a little more success. Like you mentioned, the flash drop in what was it, the third round. But do you really think and feel that this was the entirety of what they had planned?
No. Matter of fact, I think what they had in mind just kind of was you need to get to him and you need to finish him. And the best way they could do that was just to kind of figure out the cutting of the cage. And they couldn't do that because he had basically, again, instead of going left, let's go right.
Yeah.
And I think it's just Diego is not a guy who game plans. Diego is a guy who thinks on his feet. If you take away his ability to think on his feet, also apparently there's an issue with those feet. He struggles if he can't figure out an alternative in the moment, and he couldn't, like, pun or pun intended, think on his feet because Volk couldn't allow
Yeah.
him to.
Yeah.
That's a great champion, and that's how you prove the point.
It's almost as though it seems to me like Diego Lopes, he requires an opponent that's willing to crash into him. He needs somebody who is going to be that forward charging force that's willing to try to beat down his front door, because that's when he finds success, when he succeeds. And good point to you also there for bringing up the feet. Everyone's likely seen it by now. By the time this hits the air, Diego Lopes apparently broke both of his feet, was photographed in the ER. Austin, he's skeptical about that, but that's a whole other thing. But so he's in a tough situation there. I like your breakdown there. I like what you said, Austin. And then we're going to pass it to DangerMouse, but I'm going to interject real quick with some statistics before I do give the baton to the mouse. These courtesy of MMA Junkies Mike Bond.
Yo, fuck Mike Bond.
And I will be referencing some of these throughout the show, but Volkanovski's, that was his 8th UFC featherweight championship bout and victory, which did tie, as we've mentioned, Jose Aldo for the most in divisional history. He also has earned 10 of his 15 UFC victories by decision. So Volk, a bit of a decisionator. Lopes, on the other hand, has suffered 6 of his 8 career losses by decision. So things don't go his way very often when the fight goes to the cards. To your point, Austin, not very good at adjusting on the fly, not very good to adapting the game plan, requires that willing dance partner to give him those big moments. And then lastly, Lopes has now earned 4 fight night bonuses in his past 3 fights. He's also won Fight of the Night honors in 3 consecutive bouts. So Lopes, obviously an all-action fighter, a really fun guy to watch. It is tough scenes to see him now have lost 2 title opportunities, which are very hard to come by. So not that he can't get back to the title with his style and with his excitement level that he brings, but it's just, I think it was a bad choice to jump straight back into the Volk rematch this soon, and it was just miscalculated timing. Should have maybe taken another fight in between, but who might I say? So, DangerMouse, we're going to pass it to you, though, and find out what you have to say on this main event. What did you think of the fight itself? And, Alexander Volkanovski getting up in there in age, and there was some speculation that he could possibly retire after this fight, win or lose, but it seems like he has no intent on that, and he's going to keep going. He's still got fire in the belly. So what'd you think of the fight? And then, I guess just talk about Volk still getting it done at advanced age.
There were 3 fights on this card that I found a little bit, quite difficult to choose who I was going to pick. And this was one of them, to be honest. My favorite trolls who I use for fight advice, both had Lopes winning this one. But I just couldn't get the striking numbers from the first fight out of my head. I don't have the stats on them, but I remember they were big. And then I asked AI advice, and that said that a younger fighter in the rematch wins 60% of the time. But this is Volk fighting in Sydney with an Aussie crowd behind him against a guy he'd already beaten once. Volk's already beaten the over 35 rule. And in the end, I just had put my faith in the champ, and he did not disappoint. As always, we saw Volk with slick striking and movement. He circles and switches stances just effortlessly. And you've just mentioned some stats, because one popped up on screen that Volk has now thrown the 2nd most significant strikes at featherweight. And I presume that Max is number one on that list, and no one's catching up with the Blessed One's numbers ever, in all likelihood. As for the rest of the fight, Volk's wrestling was good enough. His time with Craig Jones has obviously helped his grappling. There was one moment where I think Lopes was on his back trying to get the sink the body triangle in, and Volk just kept shoving his elbow back and breaking it off, which is really, really nice to spot. Someone on commentary pointed it out as well. And so as for Lopes, he tried for a few subs, but just never really threatened Volk. This was a veteran performance by a veteran. And as you said, he equaled Aldo's number of defenses now. And the next up fight should be the one that should have taken place here last night. It should be either Evloev or Murphy. As for Lopes, he can just go and fight. Doesn't really matter who, because he's not getting another title shot until Volk retires or loses the belt. As for the fight itself, it was very similar to the previous fight. As you've both mentioned, Volk just decided instead of going left, I'm going to turn right this time. And apparently that's enough to put Lopez off his game if he ever had one. If he didn't have one, it's maybe not the best idea against someone of Volk's caliber who's got serious fight IQ. But I know I'm going to talk about another fighter later on, and he doesn't go in with a game plan either, and it worked out pretty well for him. So, but this is a championship fight. I think maybe you should be thinking about it, especially when you got humiliated in the first one. And as I watched Luke Thomas ranting about this earlier, and he was saying if he, a moke, as he called himself, I think it was, can spot this flaw in Lopez's game that he couldn't do last time, then why the fuck can't you spot it as a professional camp? This is horrible. I've probably gone a little bit harsher on them than Luke would. Luke's has to be more diplomatic than I do because he has several 100,000 listeners or whatever. But yeah, your camp, Lopez, sucked. Again, I could just put that one in, Dave. That one of Luke Thomas shouting into the mic, "You absolutely suck."
He's the most disgusting man alive. Where's a drive-by shooter when you need one?
Okay.
Or Chael Sonnen, whatever. Terrible camp. Well done, Lopez. Well done, Volk. Deserved it. Took care of business. Never really looked threatened. Good luck on his next fight. And.
All right. Well, again, same thing I did to Austin, not to cut you off, but I do have a follow-up question for you. Some great points there as well. And I have to echo those sentiments as well. I think Diego Lopes just kind of has proven that he's kind of an idiot. He's not very smart. He does not. Intelligence is not his strong suit. Now, the follow-up for you, though, Mouse, you brought up Lerone Murphy and Movsar Evloev, and everyone seems to kind of think that that's going to be your main event for UFC London. It's kind of the unspoken just thing that's floating around. It's the elephant in the room that we're just waiting on the announcement. So should that fight go down, one, just quickly, who do you think takes that fight, just off the top of your head, Movsar versus Lerone? And who do you think Volk is wanting to face more out of those two?
I'll answer that part first. I think Volk would much rather fight Lerone Murphy. It's going to be a stand-up battle mainly, and that's obviously going to suit Volk. And Murphy's another kind of decision maker. I know he got the spinning elbow last time, which should have got him this fight, by the way. Just again, slightly altering things. Someone, I think it was Dana White, actually said that Lopez got this fight because he had the spinning elbow blow that knocked out John Silver, and I was like, hang on. Did you not notice how Lerone Murphy won his fight, you idiot?
To touch on that, Dana White gave Lerone Murphy spinning elbow KO his knockout of the year. That was his personal choice. So what the fuck?
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. As for the fight between Evloev and Murphy, I did go back and watch Evloev against Allen because I was researching Arnold Allen rather than the other way around. And I did notice that Evloev, he might have changed his game since then, but he had a tendency to grab low and hang on, and his knees wouldn't be touching. He would just hang on. He was one of those fighters who liked to drape a hand, I think, so to avoid knees to the head. And I could see him walking onto a knee or getting caught out by the fact that he just forgets that he can't do that anymore, and Murphy lands something like that. But it's going to be a tough fight for Murphy. I don't think anyone can argue that. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. To be patriotic, I'll say Murphy. It's a head and heart one, I guess. Head says probably Evloev, but heart says Murphy. And I don't think there's any reason Murphy can't win it. But yeah, probably 60-40 to the other, Evloev Murphy for me.
Just before we took the air here, I did see some odds posted on Twitter, courtesy of Aaron Broadstetter. I think they were from Bet Online. It was odds for who will be Volk's next opponent, and the leading candidate was Movsar Evloev. So I think he's probably the most deserving. Lerone is definitely a very close second. I wouldn't object to seeing either one of them get the shot. Should they have to fight each other, I guess, sure, why not? Find a true number one contender. But there is that possibility that Lord Silva finds himself injected in the equation too, because we know how the UFC operates. They like their excitement. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting either way. It's featherweight has always been one of my favorite divisions to watch. There's been moments of stagnation throughout the years, but I feel like even with this being kind of I guess you would say a gift situation for Volk being the champion again, because of Topuria leaving the belt and allowing him to find himself back in the situation. I still think that featherweight is the division's healthy. There's a lot of talent and there's a lot of depth, and it's going to be fun to see how things shake out, who gets the shot. All right, well, from there, we will move it on to our co-main event of the evening, and this one would go down in the lightweight division, and it would be at number 8, Benoit Saint-Denis, taking on number 6, Dan Hooker. Of course, Benny St. Denis coming in off of the vicious KO that he had over Beneil Dariush in his most recent outing. Dan Hooker, unfortunately, choked out against Arman Sarukian in his most recent fight. But this one would see these two top 10 guys going at it. Dan Hooker, who actually coming into this fight, if you remember, after his last loss, wanted to face, who was it? Somebody that he said was shitty like him.
It's Renato Moicano.
Oh yeah, Renato Moicano. Thank you, Mouse. Yes, because he said they were both equally shitty, but unfortunate for him and his wishes, he ends up getting a tough, stiff challenge here in a BSD who is surging his way back up the lightweight ladder. Couple of stats before I pass it on to you, Mouse, to go first on this fight. Benoit Saint-Denis has now earned all 17 of his career victories by stoppage. His 9 victories since 2022 in UFC lightweight competition are the most in the division, and his 9 stoppage victories since 2021 in UFC competition are the most in the entire company. So BSD, the God of War, seek and destroy, whatever you want to call him. He is just that. He is a violent killer. He lives up to his name, get or get got. And lately, he's been doing the getting more than he's been getting got. So, DangerMouse, what did you think of this fight? It went into round number 2, 4:45 into the round before BSD would ultimately have the top mount on Hooker and be raining down blows, and the fight would eventually be stopped later than some people would have liked it to been. But what did you think about the fight? What did you think about the stoppage? And just give us your take on this one.
Okay, yeah, we had Hooker returning, obviously after losing to Arman not so long ago. I think we can say that Dan Hooker is the Aussie version of Cowboy Cerrone. He just likes to scrap, and for this fight, he brought it for most of the first round. He had those stabbing teeps to BSD's body, and they were clearly hurting him. You could see BSD wanted no more of those, and he eventually managed to make contact with Daz and grab hold of him. And BSD proved the point that if at first you don't succeed, then try again, which is what he did with that judo throw. I think it was a sweeping loin or something like that, sweeping knee, maybe, something like that. When he took Dan to the ground, and it was perfectly timed because that was exactly the moment that DC was criticizing him for using it all the time. And then it was slam, Dan's down, and BSD probably managed to steal that round because he did a little bit of damage. There was some blood in Dan's hair when he stepped back to his corner. And then round 2, it was BSD pretty much just charged at Dan. Obviously didn't want to endure any more of those teep kicks. Fight hits the ground, and as you said, BSD just ends up in mount, and he spent the rest of the round alternating between submission attempts and then raining down very accurately placed elbows that just slashed Dan up.
To interject real quick there, in case we've all forgotten, that fight wound up in that position because Dan Hooker went for the takedown.
Yes, he did indeed.
He put himself there.
He did indeed, yeah. Well, I haven't seen a Hooker's face that badly cut up since I last watched Unforgiven.
Cut up her face, cut her eyes out, cut her fingers off, cut her tits. Everything but her cunning, I suppose.
God damn it.
I knew there was something coming before it came.
Yeah, BSD obviously wants a belt, but he does seem genuinely more interested in the BMF belt, which I think is quite cool. We're going to have Max and Charles very soon. So give the man what he wants. Just let him take on the winner of that fight. He is the god of war, clearly, with those stats you gave him. I didn't know just how impressive his fights have been. I knew he'd won a lot. I didn't realize he'd won every time. It stopped everyone that he'd beaten. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was I forget, it was something on X, on Twitter. Someone had commented about the trying to get the war of words going with Dan Hooker, and Dan Hooker saying he was just too nice and he couldn't. And I just said, BSD's actually been a warrior. He has been in true combat. He's not interested in having a little war of words with you. He'll step into the cage, you'll try and beat each other to death, and then after it's over, he'll shake your hand and walk away. And that's what BSD is. So yeah, all credit to him. He was for quite some time my favorite French fighter, and obviously he's back being my favorite French fighter now. So yeah, go on BSD. And let BSD have them, and let Dan Hooker take on Paddy Pimblett. They hate each other. Why not?
Yeah, I've heard that kind of bandied about too. Actually, Mike Heck and AK Lee were shitting all over the idea of that fight. Mike Heck, especially today, on to the next one, because Mike was like, they're never going to do that. They're not going to put Paddy through that potential ass whipping. Now, I don't know if Dan really whips Paddy's ass. Maybe he does, but I'm of the mindset that Dan Hooker's not that good of a fighter. Like, can we just be serious? He's a fun fighter. He's enjoyable to watch, but why is he enjoyable to watch? Because he's either kicking ass or he's getting his ass kicked. Like, he's a stand-up guy with a guillotine. That's all he's got. And the guillotine doesn't work. And like, he uses it more as a defensive technique to try to stop takedowns. It's his takedown defense. And it's just, I don't know. I don't like the Cowboy Cerrone type of fighters. I don't like those guys that are just like, well, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to fight 37 fucking times, and win or lose, you'll know who I am because I always be fighting. Okay, great. You always be fighting. That's cool. Like, what is the point of your existence? Like, you're a perennial gatekeeper. You are a middling journeyman at best. You found yourself by circumstance in potential title opportunities. You have stupid tattoos. I just don't like them. I don't like them.
I agree with that. How many fights has Dan Hooker had in the UFC? Just kind of a rhetorical question. It doesn't really matter. It's a lot. Yeah. So how much is he getting paid? So
Dan
if you
Hooker
want to know,
had 24 fights in the UFC.
Okay, so if you want to know why Dan Hooker wants to keep fighting, because he's getting paid a shed load, even at crappy rates, and he's popular. So yeah. Plus, whenever it's in Australia or New Zealand, not that they get down there that much, he's just there. He's ideal to throw on a card down there. He's going to be up for it.
He turns up.
He is, but
he gets the crowd to turn out.
Yeah, he's not going to roll his neck playing touchy with Nina Drama and quit on a fight.
I'll say the same thing I just said about. I'll say the same thing I just said about Dan Hooker, about even like a Nate Diaz. Like, the Diaz brothers are fun. It's a funny shtick. They're a institution in the MMA world. But Nate Diaz is not a good fighter. He's a middling fighter who found success because of his personality and because like he can stay relatively at a 50-50 record and just be ready, stay ready, and find himself in situations. Like, it's a necessary evil in the MMA world, but it's just not my cup of tea. Like, I don't like going into a fight and basically being like, well, this is a coin flip. Like, no matter what, this is always going to be a coin flip because of how this guy is. It bothers me. And his record in the UFC speaks to that. What is he in the UFC? He's 14-10. So he's on the positive side of the wins, but still, it's fucking, I don't know. And in his losses, he has suffered 4 of his 6 UFC stoppage losses by knockout. So, I don't know. It is what it is. Anyways, Austin, now that I've gotten my rant out of the way, let's see what you can salvage from this co-main event. I thought BSD looked really good. I thought that this was a good measuring stick for him and where he truly is at in this division. It seems like he's bounced back from, suffering the tough loss to DP and kind of wavering a little bit in his career and then beating the Kyle Prepelecs of the world at the lower class. Now he's elevating himself back up into the conversation. As Mouse pointed out, he's talking BMF title fights. He's mentioning the names of Arman Sarukian, even though he's not saying he wants that fight. He's doing the thing. So
Yeah.
I guess, tell us about the fight, and then is BSD really, like, is he the real deal in this division, or is he just another fun guy?
Okay, so the thing that comes to mind when I watch a Dan Hooker fight, it's the Demolition Man. Alistair Overeem used to be that guy beforehand, where you didn't know if he was just going to, demolish the guy in front of him or get demolished. And most of the time, if he did demolish, you're like, oh, that horse meat's got to be pretty good, right? Whereas, like, when he got knocked out, it was vicious. Or when he got beat to shit, he got finished pretty bad more often than not. Dan Hooker is kind of taking that title of being the guy who can take an ass whoop and still fight. But usually, if he gets pretty, dinged up, he's going to lose one way or another. And that's kind of the thing you expect from a Dan Hooker fight, kind of like where it's kind of the opposite of Cerrone, where Cerrone was at least a tactician at a bare minimum. Dan kind of used to be a tactical fighter. Now he's kind of found himself like, either I'm good enough to beat the shit out of the guy in front of me, or I'm not good enough to beat the elite of the division. And he found himself in a weird position recently because he found himself on a winning streak, got injured, and was kind of letting people fight in his backyard for, some cash. That's about it, But Dan is like that guy. You're like, he should be better than what he is, but he allows himself to kind of make mistakes regularly because he kind of looks at it like, fuck it, if I lose, I lose. It's like, no, if you're good enough, you should care about winning regularly.
Yes.
That's it.
It's the Kevin Holland conundrum. It's the Kevin Holland conundrum.
Yeah, don't forget, he was trapped in Vegas during the COVID entire incident, so he was kind of forced to fight there because he was just so bloody bored.
No, I mean, not so much that, Mouse, but it's like the fact that you can see he's tactically capable, but when you see him kind of like just put himself, like he said in this fight, where he looked for the takedown because he's winning with the striking in the teep, exchanges. That teep kick, like you said, I was like, oh shit, Dan came to fight. Okay, good. Benoit Saint-Denis not usually the guy to fight at distance, so if he's able to keep him standing, he has a chance. But goddamn it, did like Dan go for the takedown in the second round because he's handling him. He's actually counterfighting pretty well, despite being put on the fence a couple of times and getting put on his ass. Dan's not the best off of his back, you can tell. Dan doesn't really have the ground game to kind of supplement himself regularly. You could see that. But Dan at least kept the game moving on the feet regularly. If he had to circle, he was circling. If he had to kind of wobble out of the way after getting counterstruck with a teep kick, landing on BSD, but then eating a straight right after that, he kind of found a way to kind of keep that distance a bit. It's always been the grappling that's hurt him. That's why he's always had an issue with facing the elite of the division, because he's not well-rounded to that point to fight the best of the grapplers in the division. And when BSD shows up, I would consider him elite. I'm not saying he's not good, but you can see holes in his game, and he either drapes on you, doesn't give you a minute to kind of move. He envelops you in this kind of like drowning sensation that takes over the fight. And Dan got drowned out there, and he couldn't submit Dan, which was kind of embarrassing in my opinion, but he literally beat the shit out of him at the end. And that's the thing where it's like, okay, well, he's a marauder. At a bare minimum, he's a marauder. And Mouse said, yeah, that dude's seen combat. You can tell. Because there's kind of like that look in his eye where you kind of see him and you're like, oh, he's seen things. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, see, that is a great point there. And I want to touch on Dan Hooker again in my thoughts on why I said what I said in a moment. But that's exactly it. And BSD, he said it himself last night in the post-fight press conference that he had to basically go to that place last night. He had to say, okay, I need to be the old BSD again, because that fight last night against Dan, it was kind of starting out very similar to that loss to Dustin. And he was heading down that road, and it was going down that trajectory. And he said himself, BSD, that he basically had to flip the switch in his mind. He had to click, and he had to say, you know what, I got to bring back the old BSD. I got to go for this. And that is the kind of thing that you really only acquire from something like, I would imagine, real life combat, because you could see the man flip the switch. Like, you can visibly see it happen in the cage, where he just goes, okay, fuck it, like, kill or be killed time. And when he did that, he was able to kill. And that brings me back to Dan before we move on to the next fight. I just want to say that the reason I said all that shit about him and the reason I am so hard on him is because I feel like the guy has always had a much higher ceiling than he's ever achieved. Like, he's a big, long body for the division. He's got phenomenal striking. Those teeps, like you guys have pointed out, were killing BSD. He was almost winning the fight with teep kicks. Like, you're a talented guy. Yeah, you're a very talented guy. You have skills. You clearly have heart and chin and toughness and a willingness to put yourself through fucking hell. So it's like, why don't you just apply yourself a little bit more over all these years to reach that ceiling? Take this fucking sport a little bit more seriously. Take your career a little bit more seriously, and you probably could have been a champion if you had developed better and different takedown defense.
A jab and a Philly shell. He could have been there, up there with Sean Strickland.
Yep. It developed a little bit better takedown defense than just a guillotine. And like you said, develop a little bit more defense, a Philly shell, whatever it is. And the guy could have gone so far. And it's just really, it's one of those situations where it's like, you have a really good athlete in school, in high school, and the kid could be the star of the football team and he could take the team to state, but he can't apply himself. He doesn't have the mindset or the drive or the determination for whatever reason to fully apply himself. And so he slacks off and he cuts corners and you see what happens. And it pisses me off because I think Dan Hooker could be a really, really good fighter, but he never wanted to be. So he was just an average fighter and it sucks.
That's fair. That's a disappointed dad energy right there.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, I feel like a fucking coach. Like, Dan, come on, Dan. God damn it.
Just throws his hat and walks off the field.
We trained this for 6 weeks, Dan. What the fuck?
He's running out of body area to covering tattoos anyway. So.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's go to our feature fight of the night. And really I guess, if you weren't a fan of the JBR fantasy draft, you didn't have stake in Quillen Salcode. Only the last of 3 fights that really had any meaning on this card. And it was yet another one in the lightweight division here at 155. And it was 2 more ranked guys as number 9, Rafael Fiziev, went at it. Boy, did he go at it with number 14, Mauricio Rufy, or Hoofy if you're Luke Thomas. I mean, this one had all the makings and all the ingredients to be exactly what it turned out to be. A fucking fun-ass fight where 2 guys stood there toe-to-toe and went at it. There was a few moments mixing in the grappling, or at least fake grappling, to throw your opponent off. But for the most part, it was just 2 dudes standing toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose, swinging dicks. And in the end, when it was all said and done, 4 minutes and 30 seconds into round number 2, Mauricio Rufy would get the TKO win over Rafael Fiziev, and it would come after just a beautiful, beautiful blistering right hand that sent Fiziev reeling and literally, turned him around, almost turned him inside out and had him running away. Rufy would follow up and do what he did, and it was just, for me, I don't really want to say that this was a eye opener for Rufy, because this was just a stand-up fight. This was an on the feet fight, which of course favors him and is his realm. So we didn't really get to see questions answered per se, but this is by far the biggest test that he's been able to pass in the UFC. Fiziev, no slouch, no pushover, been in there with the who's who himself. So to get a win like this, to get a finish over Fiziev, to put him away like that, it says a lot for Rufy, especially considering Justin Gaethje couldn't put away Fiziev. So, man, just a big win here. Obviously, he's going to skyrocket him up the rankings a little bit here at lightweight, possibly push him into that top 10. Mauricio Rufy, now 13-2 in MMA overall, 4-1 in the UFC, has earned 12 of his 13 career victories by stoppage, and he has finished all of those fights by knockout. So KO machine. And for Unfortunately for Zeev here, he has suffered all 3 of his career stoppage losses by knockout TKO. So tough scenes there. This is an interesting fight because it kind of changes the trajectory pretty drastically for both guys as for what's going to lie ahead. I think, Austin, you're next to go first on this one. So first up, of course, as always, give us your thoughts on the fight. A very fun fight, as a lot of lightweight fights are, but also, I guess I'll give you the loser's side here with Fiziev, because it seems to me like he's kind of finding himself in one of these scenarios where when he does go up against the upper tier, the upper room at lightweight, he falls just a little bit short, and that's unfortunate because a lot of people think he is probably the most premier striker in this division. Tiger Muay Thai guy, the lead striking coach down there for a lot of their teams in fucking Thailand. Like this guy is top of the line when it comes to throwing his hands and throwing his feet, but it just, for whatever reason, he's falling short when it comes against the top of the division. So what do you think of the fight? And then give us your take on what remains of Fiziev's career.
Oh, well, I mean, it was fun. 2 strikers willing to, throw hands, and that's always fun. And they weren't like kind of holding back either. You did kind of look at the way Fiziev kind of pushed forward, closed the distance, and was landing pretty hefty shots, and wasn't afraid of getting, in the pocket a handful of times. And that's kind of a thing that I was kind of wondering, does that fuck up, Rufy's game plan? Because like you could tell Rufy didn't like the crowding, didn't like getting put up against the fence, didn't like the grappling sensation, because he looked at that and was like, ah, shit, I might get taken down. And he, thankfully he was able to keep it standing consistently and managed to find ways to get off the fence. And when he did, he also made sure to count on the fact that Fiziev was moving forward or backwards and still land on him. Like that was the whole thing of like, okay, my thought process, if it's still the same Hoofy who lost to BSD in the embarrassing fashion that he did, does that guy also show up and also have a moment of lapse where he just kind of allows the fight to be taken from him in a mere instant? That's not what actually happened. He kind of found his composure and started landing at the end of the first, and then worked that into the second. And the minute he was given an opportunity to counter perfectly, he did, and he didn't let go. And that was the thing that was great to see, because when he was at Fighting Nerds, and again, you'll probably tell me, he kind of was playing around. They were all vibing. They all felt like invincible. This was the first time where you can see that he didn't feel invincible. He was cold, calculating, and made sure to keep up a defense, because Fiziev is good. And you could see that in the fight, and you could see that, okay, this is what happens when you actually put forth effort in a training camp with a good team, right? Because he trained with Volk this camp, and you could tell he wasn't 100%, but God damn it, did he look good? And he made sure not to let the fight get away from him like he did when he was with the Fighting Nerds. So, congrats to him. It kind of puts him in a where this is the Rufy I was expecting, right? The one that we saw on the way up. This is the guy. He's going to struggle because you're fighting the elite guys. You're going to face some pushback. This is the guy I was expecting. As for Fiziev, man, there's really no wrong way for him to get matched up. He's pretty much fought half of the division at the top in the 15. And there's no wrong way to kind of match him with the guys coming in now. Like, honestly, you could probably put him and Dan Hooker going up against each other. You can even throw him against Paddy Pimblett if you really wanted to. Lightweight right now is fun because this is what should be happening. There should be consistency, turnover, whatever. Fiziev is young enough to where he could still make another bounce back, but at the same time, you just got to put him up in there with guys that are at the lower tier of the division, at least within the top, 15 to 30 range, because he's got to defend his position. You lose a handful of fights, you shouldn't be in the top of the division anymore. Because lightweight is a shark tank. There's not really a bad percentage of fighters that he can face and find a way back in. He might have to lose the ranking, but he'll find a way back. He's good enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna pass the mouse, but real quick, give me just a simple yes or no answer, because Fiziev had considered following the second loss to Gaethje before he beat Ignacio Bahamondes, he had considered and he had discussed the potential of moving down to 145. Now, I'm not saying he's not capable at 155, but is there the chance that he would be more capable at 145? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. You think it's too much diminishing returns?
Well, yeah, that's going to be a tough cut for him to begin with, and he's not a small. He's short in stature, but he's like Michael Chandler. Dude's built like a tank. So
that's true. He did look pretty thick coming into this one. Yeah, he did look pretty thick.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, well, DangerMouse, we're going to pass it to you, and we're going to get your thoughts on this fight and what you thought of this featured bout from the main card. But I also want to point out, because I'm going to ask you about the Ruffy side, Mauricio Ruffy side, some comments that he made backstage after UFC 325 at the post-fight press conference, where he mentioned it in the cage, and he also said it backstage as well. A few days prior to this event, apparently, his brother passed away, which is a tough situation to be going through, very unfortunate. So he said, he was really emotional with this fight, and a few weeks prior, he got the flu or influenza, and the day of the fight in the morning, apparently, and Volk confirmed all this in his interview as well. His back was seizing up, and apparently he was to the point where he could almost not move. So they were of the mindset that Mauricio Ruffy might not even compete in this fight, that this might have been a late scratch come fight time and be taken off the card. So tell us what you thought of the fight. And then, knowing that, a pretty phenomenal performance for Ruffy. So is this guy who we thought he was, is he really elite at 155?
That is the question. For this fight, this was one of the toughest fights to call on the card. I said there were 3 tough ones. This was one of them. And I did have Ruffy at first. I picked him out, and then I started doing my usual research, and I couldn't get over how much better Fiziev's past opponents were. And I think a lot of other people started thinking that way too, because the odds switched right before this fight started, and it became a straight pick 'em fight. I think it was -110 at each of them. And you can see at the start, Fiziev doing an absolutely great job, as Austin said, controlling the fight with forward pressure, and Ruffy just wasn't throwing much. And he was just stood there downloading data, looking for the killer shot. And he found that in round 2 with the straight right from hell that put Fiziev on chicken legs. And then he just piled on the pressure to force the ref to stop the fight. It was a very, very good performance, absolute sniper shot. And obviously, I didn't know about all these stuff with his brother and his illness and etc. until I heard it. Until really I heard it today, because I didn't take much notice of the fight interview afterwards on the night. That takes some kind of mental fortitude to do that. I don't think there are many people who would want to or could even do that, to step in, adding everything together, being ill. For New York Rick and who was it? And Jose Young's influenza is exactly the same as flu. It's just it's an abbreviation. So yeah, you can put that one to rest. I'm not a doctor, but I do know that much.
Nice.
Great fight from Ruffy. Just like I said, stellar performance, really. It didn't do that much in the first round, although his corner were telling him he had won the first round, which could have been very dangerous. I don't think he won the first round. I haven't had a chance to look at the judges' card, so I don't know what they were scoring here. But round 2, he just sat back, waited, and then bang, snap, that right hand came through, and he did not miss with it. And he does not once he's got you hurt, he does not give you a chance to recover. He seems to be the real deal. I'm not sure how high he can go, but obviously he's going to be. I don't know what rank Fiziev was before this fight, but he's going to be in the top 10, I presume, now at least.
Yeah, Fiziev was 9. Ruffy was 14. Fiziev was 9.
Okay, so he's inside the top 10. So there should be plenty of new fights for him. As you said, BSD, that could be fun. I don't think Ruffy would enjoy it. Oh, no, sorry, he's already lost to him, hasn't
he? Yes, he did. He did, yeah. Kind of a pecking order here getting established right before our eyes. And just before we move on, to kind of echo what your sentiments there, Mouse, he must hit like a fucking truck. Like, you must hit like a brick to be the one to put Fiziev away. When Justin Gaethje, he was cracking Fiziev during their fights. Like they were not pitter pattering. Like twice, two times. Like he went a full, it's just incredible. So Ruffy must really, really fucking hit hard. And phenomenal work from him there. I had one more thing I wanted to say about this fight, but I can't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Cake Boss will be pleased.
Yeah. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention before we move on from it, he did also talk about the Fighting Nerds situation. And he is going to return to the Fighting Nerds for his next camp, but he would like to come back to Australia for another camp in the future. So he's just basically wanting to be like a bit of a mercenary, gun for hire, and be able to go where he wants to go. But it is what it is there.
Yeah.
I do see a message in the chat, and that's probably from, it is. It's Dave telling us to hurry the fuck up. So we're going to hurry the fuck up. We're going to move on to the next bout, and it was a heavyweight fight of sloppy, fat, nasty, disgusting, gross heavyweight fight. Number 12, somehow still number 12, Tai Tuivasa taking on number 15, Taliesin Teixeira. Guys, oh my God. I don't know what to say about this fight, so I'm going to let you guys say most of it. Taliesin Teixeira would somehow find himself making it through all 3 rounds, the first time he's ever made it through anything more than 1 round in his career, and he would come out the other side as the decision winner. He is the victor, now 9-1 in his pro career, 2-1 in the UFC. As I just said, earning the first decision victory of his career. For poor Tai Tuivasa here, this is now a 6-fight UFC losing skid, and that is the longest in the tenured history of the heavyweight division. He has passed Jared Vandera, who previously held the record with 5 consecutive defeats with this 6th consecutive loss, and he hasn't earned a victory since February of 2022. Tuivasa falls to 5-9 in his past 14 fights after starting his career 10-0. Whew. Good God. All right, DangerMouse, I think you're up first, if I'm not mistaken. So give us your thoughts on this heavyweight fat guys at the Apex on the road.
Yeah, it was an Apex main event just wasted, casually thrown away by Dana. What the hell are you doing, Dana? Instead, you feed us this sloppy mess on a numbered card. I know you don't have pay-per-views anymore, although the Aussies were paying pay-per-views. I doubt the English were. I haven't checked. Just a horrible, sloppy mess. If it had gone by previous form, this fight should have been over in 1 round. And God, I wish it had happened that way. I think I and most of us here were hoping for a slugging battle, but Teixeira went for that takedown. And I guess, to be fair, he did rain down some heavy ground and pound throughout round 1 and round 2. Funniest moment of the fight for me was when Tai Tuivasa ate a 1-2. He absolutely took him, and then he turned around and he kind of grinned, and he looked like he was just about to say something and mock Taliesin Teixeira, and Taliesin Teixeira just changed levels and threw him straight down on the ground, and that was about the funniest moment of the fight for me. Apart from, of course, round 3 where they're both completely gassed. They managed about 30, maybe a minute of actual action, and then at one point they were both stood there with their hands on their hips, looking at each other, almost looking like a couple of Yorkshiremen had reached top of hill. By gun, we're doing well to get up here, lad. Just horrible. On the bright side, we have seen Teixeira now go past 1 round, which I guess is something, and that's about all I can really say about this fight. And I know there was a story on anyway, so. The sad thing is, Ty really could have finished that fight. If he'd just had something left in the tank, he could have finished Teixeira off there. But the fat fucker couldn't, so no.
Yep. The victory was just hanging in front of his face like a fucking 4-20 meat pie dangling on a string, and he couldn't even fucking grab it. Austin, just... I feel bad even making you guys talk about this fight. The UFC heavyweight division, it's disgusting. This is disgusting. Like this... These are the baddest men on the planet. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, these guys, they could barely pick up their own ass. They can't. Like, it's sad. It's really fucking sad. This fight was terrible. Jesus Christ. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. So what do you got to say about these fucking fat pigs that came in here and stunk up the joint?
Well, there's two things probably. You can probably equate it to Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000, except one of them had a heart attack. You'd be surprised which one, but still. The other thing too is that we saw a better version of this fight, like fucking 15 almost years ago, right? Or something like that, with Mark Hunt and Stefan Struve. And yeah, guess what? The shorter fighter got the finish in that fight and actually had better grappling than Tai Tuivasa did. Amazing that Mark Hunt's legacy is being tarnished by his protege. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, if there was ever an argument to just like scrap the heavyweight division, this fight was probably it. But at the same time, it's like, damn it, Ty, you had it. You literally had it, and you chose to fucking grapple. Like, there's a moment where he literally like gets up and the crowd cheers. The crowd literally cheers. That's the loudest they got during the fight. And he gets up and he turns around and he fucking eats one too. And then he gets fucking willingly gets into the clinch and he gets tripped down again. And you hear everybody go, "Ah, god damn it!" What? I don't know. It was so confusing to me that, like, I know Ty is a big guy and he doesn't really have the best gas tank, but like, god damn it, dude, like clinching against the fence to slow down the fight. I don't know who told him that he needed to do that, but like, he would have had a better outcome had he just fucking risked it for the biscuit, and he probably would have had most of the biscuits at the home afterwards. But that's neither here nor there. Fucking disappointment. I hate this fucking like fight now, but it's hilarious when you rewatch it because it was just bad. But
so bad.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Cut them both.
I mean, I've only been saying it for 2 years. Send Tai Tuivasa and both Taffa brothers to the BKFC. Match made in heaven. What the fuck are we doing? Makes no sense. I know. It's just heavyweight MMA is fucking so bad. So bad. Terrible. Okay, well, we're going to move along because this is the final fight to discuss from the main card and the lone bout of the entire UFC 325 event that had Just Bleed Radio fantasy draft stakes. Those fantasy draft points that were on the line were hanging in the balance for none other than Mr. DangerMouse with his draft pick, Quillen Salkeld, as he took on just perennial punching bag Jamie Face Like a Boot Malarkey. This was a lightweight fight, and it didn't take very long. It only took 3 minutes and 2 seconds into round number 1 for Mr. Quillen Salkeld to secure the submission victory. Again, this is not a whole lot I can say about this one, so I'm going to leave it to you guys. But Quillen Salkeld has now earned 3 of his 4 UFC victories by stoppage. This UFC victory by stoppage would also earn Mr. DangerMouse a added bonus for his fantasy draft points and an added $100,000 for Quillen Salkeld. So they're both a little bit richer, and we're all just a little bit more jaded. So, yeah, keep the booing going because you're going first in this one, Austin. It's
unfair.
Hey, you're leading the fucking fantasy right now, so let's just pipe down now.
Not much longer.
Yeah, plenty of fights ahead. But Austin, Quillen Salkeld hasn't beat the stiffest competition yet, but he does now have 2 pretty impressive finishes in a row. Both the guys he beat were UFC vets. So, you can only knock him so much for who he's matched against. He has to fight who he's given. But again, this is kind of a situation where, on a much lower level than the last couple of fights we've been talking, but it's a scenario where it's like, is this Salkeld kid really the real deal? Now, a lot of people, our own Mouse included, kind of think he is. I want to get your take on it. He's got the size factor. He seems to have striking. He seems to have grappling. Got a cool mustache. Has a curly mullet. Parents own a bakery. Got a fun story. So what do you think about the fight? What do you think about the finish? And what do you think about Quillen Salkeld?
Well, first things first, I forgot the fact that he could wrestle, and that was disappointing of me because I was thinking about getting a first round TKO, KO, and I should have remembered that, oh yeah, he had a fight where he kind of consistently wrestled the guy and looked pretty decent doing it. And the first takedown that he hits was kind of like by accident, and then the second one, oh yeah, he knows, and then he gets reversed by Malarkey, and Malarkey kind of gets put in a position to defend the choke. And I forgot how capable he was on the ground, where it's like, oh shit, he can wrestle, nice. Where it's like, oh wow, okay, this is what we're doing, gotcha. Um, great fighter, great IQ, doesn't leave a whole lot open for his opponents to kind of capitalize on. The one thing you can say is that he might get willy-nilly with the kind of grappling exchanges, but that's about it, because he usually finds his footing in those positions and then counters those with another transition, which is great. That's what a good grappler does. He didn't sit and allow the fight to kind of take place on him, and he usually finds a way to get back up or get to the transition, which is great. That's what good fighters do. The thing with him, you don't need him to fight anybody that's ranked. Not yet. I mean, he's only had 4 fights with the UFC. Just give him more guys. The lightweight has no shortage of people he can just fucking murder. Just keep feeding him guys. There's not a progression that needs to happen where he needs to face somebody in the top 15 by the end of the year. He's not there yet. Plus, top 15, he's not going to get anywhere close to that this year, I don't think. And it's fine. It'll be unfortunate because it'll give Mouse points, and I don't want that. But just keep feeding him guys in the lightweight division. Especially unranked guys. Hell, you can even give him guys who are on losing streaks and just fucking have him be the guy who sends them packing. Yeah. Anytime you sign up to fight Quill and Salkill, you'll get your 2 weeks, your papers. Just keep doing that. Screw it. Why not? It's fine. No reason to rush it.
Again, me and you, we're always kind of on the same page with this, Austin. We are very much build the prospects the right way. Let them kind of come along through a natural progression. Don't rush them. We know that's often not the case, not how the UFC does things, but certain guys, they do it. They're the people that become sort of their pet projects. But again, to go back to what I heard earlier today on to the next one with Mike Heck, he's wanting to give him a ranked opponent already. Like, he's wanting to rush him up the ladder.
That's insane.
And I'm thinking, Mike, like, you got to slow it down. Like, you take a moment. Yeah, quiet, Heck. Like, ridiculous. I was thinking, it's a solid test, but it is an unranked opponent. I would just like to see it for the how it would play out. Give me Quillen Salkild versus Daniel Zellhuber. 2 big body lightweights going at it. Like,
yeah, that's good.
That would be a banger. Yep. I would really enjoy to see that. Yeah, all right. So, we got to let DangerMouse touch on this. We can't just pass him up as much as we want to. This is his draft pick. And he did come out here and he did secure a pretty nice finish win here. Pretty nice indeed, because, guys, Jamie Malarkey, who now finds himself at 6-7 in his run in the UFC, he has suffered 7 of his 9 career losses overall via stoppage. But this was the first time ever that Jamie Malarkey suffered a submission loss in his entire career. So Quillen Salkild, feather a Quill in his hat, because he did put away Jamie Malarkey here for the first time ever in his whole entire career by submission. So big thing there. DangerMouse, gloat a little bit. Tell us what you thought about the performance of your draft pick here. And do you have anything at all to say on Jamie Malarkey? Because we haven't said much for Jamie Malarkey here.
Yeah, this was the bright light in what had mostly been an awful night for me up to this point. I'd had a couple of great picks, but the vast majority had all gone wrong from the prelims. And my second round draft pick, 35 points, 35 draft points, baby. Just bring them here. Puts me in the lead. My two little novices, Ty Miller and Cullen Salkild, 70 points between them. These 2 lads behind me. 4 fighters, 70 points combined. What can I say? Awesome job, man. Awesome job. I also snatched him up in another league as well. I bought him for that one as well. So, but we're not talking about that one here. Yeah, obviously I expected this win. I was hoping for a KO, not because, but I wasn't surprised by this result because I know that Quillen can wrestle and grapple, and I think most of his earlier wins were actually by sub. So this guy really is the complete package, and it makes it difficult for us to decide how he's going to win. But saying that, I'd rather be facing that dilemma than actually facing Quillen in the cage. He's really, really dangerous guy. And this was the guy, he doesn't come in with a game plan. Well, he does, but his game plan is just to fight and deal with whatever comes up. which we might cause him problems later as he gets better and rises higher in the ranks. And again, as you said, Lazy, malarkey, not the toughest test, but all fighters can do is beat whoever's put in front of them. And the trick is to get them, whoever they put in there, get them out quickly. And that's exactly what Quillen did here. I didn't know about the fact that this was the first time malarkey had ever been subbed. And I did have a few little notes on the wrestling, but Austin's already spoken about it, and he knows far more about wrestling than I do. Other thing I can say, Bruce Buffer announced this as a rear naked choke, but on Wiki it's listed as a neck crank. That's the other thing. That was an impressive submission because he didn't even have any hooks in. He just kind of snuggled him up with his legs and then just cranked his jaw across his body with his elbow. Just absolute pure strength. I guess there's probably a lot of technique in there, but there's obviously a lot of raw strength as well. So really impressed by my pick. Hopefully I'll see him fight again at least another time, 2 times this year. And I think we were chatting in the chat room somewhere, and he said he got the bonus. And I was checking, I couldn't see that he got the bonus, so I wasn't so sure with it being a sub. If it had been a KO, I knew that was going to be likely a bonus. But yeah, 35 points, baby.
Yes, you're 35 points, and you are currently sitting atop the fantasy draft board for now. Plenty of year ahead. Yeah, we got lots of year ahead. And again, don't sleep on team bleeders, because we did a pretty good job drafting team bleeders, so they could really find themselves in the mix too as we get through 2026. But speaking of leaderboards, we're now going to move on from the discussion around the actual fights of UFC 325. We are now going to move into a very brief discussion about the JBR Tapology leaderboard. And for UFC 325, the man that got it done, the man that comes out number one, it is our very own Daz Riccio, Mr. Dead Wrong himself, the man many MK fans will know, who walks away from 325 with 11 fights correctly predicted and 760 points. Shout out Daz.
Hell yeah.
And also, not to forget, at number 2, you're going to recognize this name as well, because he's on your airwaves right now. It is Mr. No Special with 9 correct and a total of 665 points. Congratulations, Austin. Round of applause.
Thank you. Golf claps around.
It's been a crazy week when Austin scores high in these kind of things.
Hell yeah.
I was just going to say, from last week, nearly worse to almost first. Pretty good job.
We're climbing to the top.
It's been a kind of reflective week.
We can't go without also giving a shout out to producer extraordinaire Super Dave, who did secure the number 3 spot in this week's Tapology leaderboard with actually 10 fights correctly predicted. So he did predict more fights correctly than Austin, but Austin must have got something perfect.
I predicted better.
Yeah, you must have got something perfect.
Yeah, it was a couple of perfect picks that did it for Austin, because I'd also written a segment out for this page, just in case you didn't feel like doing it.
Dave did come in with 615 points, so he came in 50 points shy of Austin. So not too bad. Not too bad, though. Top 3 of this week's Tapology leaderboard. Daz, friend of the show, friend of MK, friend of the Donk family, and then 2 people from JBR. So doing pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Us 2 with a less than stellar performance. I did manage to maintain at least a 50% win rate, because I hate dropping below 50%. And I was 11th. And Lazy, you pipped me by 5 points. You got 8 fights. Yeah, you got 10th place. You managed to make the top 10. Well done.
Well, if we had more time and we were going longer today, there was plenty of fuckery that happened on this card. There was a couple of potential robbery situations early on, some home cooking, but we don't got time to get into that. But what we do got time for is the next segment, and it's going to be the final segment of the day. And this segment is Rate That Card.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. This is what we always do. It is a weekly tradition around here at JBR, and it is where we sit down and we think over the events of the night of the event, and we give our rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. What did we think of UFC 325? DangerMouse, we'll go to you first. What did you think, man? What kind of score are you going to give this second event ever on Paramount and the second in a row numbered event for the UFC?
Okay, well, first I've got to cause some problem for Dave because I changed my mind on last week's card. I changed it to up for my bet on Austin, and I want to go back to the original 7.77 that I gave for last week. As for this one was a pointless main event on a card that had a few interesting fights. BSD Hooker, fun scrap. Fazia versus Ruffy, the most interesting fight. Both those guys could obviously show excellent striking, unlike the main, where excellence in striking came really from just one fighter. We had the sloppy heavyweight brawl. Obviously, I enjoyed Quillen Salkill getting the finish and earning me 35 draft points, baby. And, putting me in first at least on. I haven't mentioned I got 35 draft points. I haven't mentioned that Quillen Salkill was a family of a bakery. I don't remember. Yeah, this was not the greatest card. God, what can I give this? I don't want to give it a ton. I enjoyed it, but not that much.
Waffle Mouse. Waffle Mouse. Waffle Mouse.
Yeah, I feel like I have to give it. Do I have to rate it higher just because I got Quillen Salkill, so draft points?
Ooh, it's a dilemma.
No, dilemma. Yeah. If I could rate it just on that to get higher points. No, I'm going to be fairly cruel. It was not. The pacing was better than the previous week. I'll give them that much. So that part of it was better. I am going to go 5.99.
So obscure, but okay.
What did you give it last week? What did you say you gave it last week?
So what? Last week I changed it. I changed it back to the original 7.77 that I gave.
So you docked this one pretty hard. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't want to go last because I have to close the show, so I'll go in the middle and let Austin close us out for the ranking. And I'm glad that you brought up, DangerMouse, the pacing of this card and the improvement surrounding the pacing, actually quite a few little things when it came to the production of this event, but primarily the pacing for one, and two, they gave us walkouts. Shout out to UFC executive producer Zach Candido, who has actually been talking and interacting with fans online. And he heard all of us complaining last week about the lack of walkouts on the Paramount Plus broadcast. And they heard our complaints and they actually did something about it. He went ahead and he tweeted after the event where they actually showed us the fighters coming to the cage and we got to see it. He said, and I quote, "You want walks, we will give you walks, or at least we'll try." So it's just good to know that the people actually making this shit are hearing our complaints. We're not just speaking into the void, and something actually came of that. So that's cool. So I'll give them a little points for that. But like you said, this main event was completely pointless. I didn't need to see this rematch. I certainly didn't need to see this rematch this soon. The card was fucking barren of any bouts of consequence outside of the top three. I'm so sick of seeing Tafas. I'm so sick of seeing fat guys that can't fucking fight and have no gas. Like, I was really, really tempted to give this like a record low score, but yeah, I'll be somewhat nice because of the improvements on the production side. So I'll give this a dead even 5. This is just a 5 for me. So yeah, okay. That's what I'll do. Austin, that leaves you to wrap us up and give your final thoughts, to be the man to so eloquently close UFC 325 for Just Bleed Radio. So do as only you can do. Wear your heart on your sleeve and tell us what you thought of this card.
Well, I'll say this. Watching the prelims kind of sucked the life out of me. Watching the opening prelim card kind of was okay. It was interesting, but like it looked like I was watching a regional scene fights, but whatever. And then watching the main card, like the opener with everything going on, the lackluster Data 5000 Kimbo Slice 2.0, watching the lightweight steal the show, and watching Volk reclaim his title of probably the second best featherweight in the UFC history. I mean, hell, man, you can't really go wrong. I've said it before. You have to have a good closer, and I think that's the thing that carries it out. Like, I can't give it a 7. I'm not going to give it a 5. I'll just stick with 6-7, and you'll know why.
That's terrible.
JBR, we're for the kids. Let's go.
I'm surprised you didn't go for 420, to be honest, Lazy.
Well, maybe go for one of those 4 and 20 meat pies. All right. Well, speaking of meat pies, we're about meat pied all out around here. This show is going to come to an end because things are going off the rails. But we will be back with you guys next week for another edition of the Weekend Roundup, and it is going to be the first edition of the new UFC MetaPex. So buckle up, guys, because this is a really, really big deal. This is huge. This is historic. This is groundbreaking stuff. And DangerMouse, you'll get to host it. The very first MetaPex card. Shout out you. Shout out Mark Zuckerberg.
I'm getting older on this.
I don't even know what I'm saying right now. But it is not 420 anymore, but it was, and it's going to be again in my mind because we're getting out of here. I'm going to do some big rips. Austin's going to shotgun a beer. DangerMouse is going to do 3 shots of fucking rum, and Dave is going to eat 10 edibles. We're getting fucked up, guys, and we're getting the fuck out of here. We are Just Bleed Radio. They've been No Special and DangerMouse. I'm LazyBed, and we're gone. Peace.
See you, cunts.
Bye, cunts.
Hey, it's good to have you back on the Roundup, Lazy. Missed you last week.
Oh, shit, we forgot. Yeah. Happy birthday, Lazy.
Oh, happy birthday, you fat fuck.
Oh, fuck! Happy birthday, Lazy!
You almost got away with it.
I was so close to getting out of here.
Slippery bastard.
What am I doing?
I don't know, Dave. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, dude?
I'm getting Chatri a bone.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like, if I had him, I would easily be up ahead again. Because it's a defense, a win, and a performance of the Fight of the Night performance. So, God damn it!
But you didn't.
But you didn't.
Lies. Oh, lies!
Yeah, dude. Just Bleed Radio. Those guys are marauders. People forget, man. People forget. I saw LazyBed doing calf kicks way back in like 2003. That one guy, the English prick, DangerMouse. That guy doesn't tap. And Austin, he's literally an exterminator. The fucking dude's nuts.